Welcome back to West Texas View.
Welcome back to the West Texas View. I'm Johnny Lou Avery, and Dr. Bobby Jane is our guest today, and we're talking about mental health, and particularly because this is National Stress Month, we're talking about stress and how we can resist or build up our resistance towards stress. And Dr. Jane was saying before the break that the most important thing you can do to help you with that is to develop a good, appropriate exercise program. But my question to you is, you had said earlier that people are born with an attitude that help them fight stress, and others were born with a lower tolerance for stress. And so, does exercise really help you develop a better attitude?
That's a very good question. How can exercise change your attitude about things? And the answer is, I was thinking about as we were talking in between the sessions, the answer is probably yes and no. Let me explain what I mean by that. Any stressful situations, I mean, you face stress, and so anybody who has done exercise on a regular basis, they will tell you that they feel very down, exhausted, irritable when they go to the gym. And if they had a very good exercise schedule, or if they have done good exercise, they come out very different. When they exit from the gym, they are very different. And
they're not as tired anymore. They're not.
Well, exactly. They think they're exhausted. When they go to the gym, they feel exhausted, they feel everything hurts here and there. But we start exercising, and when you come out, it doesn't do that. And something is bothering you, or something's on your mind after you do your exercise. When you come out of it, you just have a very different attitude about it. And that's what exactly I'm talking about. The body has a very good way of secreting so-called pleasure hormones that are so rejuvenating to your mind that it completely changes. And there are studies to show that exercises causes regeneration of very good chemicals in your brains, kind of almost like rejuvenating your brain cells. So your ability to handle and perceive and look at things, and you may call it outlook or your attitude or whatever you want to call it, comes out very different. So in a short way, in that way, yes, it does. Now the other part you were talking about is your ability to handle stress. What we call is resilience. It's both a factor of genetics, you know, how you're built and what kind of genes you had from your parents.
And exercise isn't going to help your genetics.
Exercise will not help your genetics, but it can modify the results of genetics. For example, if my family, for example, has high rates of obesity, or has high rates of diabetes and high blood pressure. Now that's a genetic factor which I cannot modify. But if I'm very good in exercising, if I'm very good at taking care of my diet, now I can prevent myself from developing diabetes, overweight, hypertension. So you can modify it. See, you are dealt with the cards, you know, you have to play with. You know, there's no choice with it. But how you, after you're dealt with your cards, how you smartly you play your cards, whatever you got, that is important.
Great analogy. That is a great.
That's what I tell my patients, and sometimes it gets well, sometimes it backfires.
Sometimes you lose one of those card games. But the bottom line is understanding yourself is what starts that process. If you don't know what your genetics are, if you don't care about what is the predestined or predetermined.
And also a lot of stress management exercises and trainings usually will tell you that 90-95% of situations that we get stressed out over are very modifiable, provided you have a very different outlook about it. I'll give you an example. People get stressed out if they're sitting in traffic. People get stressed out if other person is not driving well, or they're getting slow or fast, or somebody cuts them off. It's a big factor. I think it's a West Texas thing. Somebody cuts off, and people are
and road rage.
They are looking at their counters where they. And anyway, so that's one of the biggest factors I've seen that is a significant. So one of the way to I would say that is an outlook. One way to think about it is that this person has no respect for me, has no respect for the civility. He thinks he or she can do whatever they want to do, and how dare he or
And
she.
I'll show him.
I'll show him. So that's one way to look at the result of it. You get more angry, upset, you get stressed. Other way to look at this is that one way could be that it's possible that person isn't having an emergency. Maybe he's going to a hospital, maybe he or she is going to attend a child, maybe there is something very desperate and he doesn't have any choice. He or she doesn't have a choice but to drive as irrationally as he or
So
she is
I'm
driving.
going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
So let him the benefit of doubt, exactly. But my behavior, I cannot control other person's behavior. I can control my own behavior. Let's not do what he or she is doing. Let's control our behavior and be okay with it. So in that way, your attitude towards yourself will be much different. And that's what I was talking about, looking the glass half empty or half full. If you look at it half empty, obviously your reaction will be very negative compared to if you see the glass half full, will be very different, positive. And that relates to stress. So your mood, actually, as we call it, is very much influenced by the way you think. So people try to change my mood. Okay, I'm feeling very bad. Let's go to the bar and drink and my mood will be better. Doesn't work that way. I mean, alcohol has been there for thousands and thousands of years. If it cured moods, then we would not have anything else to do. The problem is, if you're chasing the mood, that is not the issue here. Let's chase the demon behind what drives the mood. That is our thinking process. And a lot of times, I would say 95% of the times, if you have a different outlook of situations, a different possible explanation, and sometimes we may have to train our brain to look at a situation very differently, your mood will be very, very, very different.
So if people that are naturally born with a half full attitude,
they have an innate ability to automatically perceive a very alternative explanation.
but would they be less likely to have depression?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because we've had more comments on your programs in the past where we talked about depression, and particularly child depression. But people would say, I've dealt with depression all my life, and so this is an indication that they have other factors that are built in.
In fact, when we say into counseling, what I'm talking about is nothing but what we call a big term, cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT for short. And it's a therapy in which, in counseling sessions, this is what exactly we train.
Teaching them how to intervene within themselves.
You got it. Absolutely.
We're going to have to take a break now. We'll be back in just a minute and continue this very interesting conversation with Dr. Jane. See you in just a minute.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.